All right, so I think I'm recording now. I actually did problem number 7 and recognized at the end of the problem that I was not recording. And so rather than going over the whole thing again, I'm just going to let you look at the work here and see if you can't follow what I've done. I can briefly describe each step and see if you agree. I have this inequality, and I use the distributive property on the left-hand side and the right-hand side. So when I multiplied 3/4 times the first term, when I multiplied 3/4 times 2, I just went ahead and reduced the fraction as 3/2 right then. Then on the right-hand side, um, I multiplied both terms by the negative 11 over 6, 110 over 18. Both of those are even numbers, but I didn't recognize that as I wrote it down until in the next line. And you can see that I reduced that fraction of 110 over 18 to 55 over 9. I noticed that I had like terms here, the 4x over 3 and 11x over 6. So rather than looking at all the denominators and getting a common denominator for the whole thing, which eventually I'll have to do, I just went ahead and got a common denominator for these two terms as 6. And so I multiplied the 4x over 3 times 1, but I wrote 1 as 2 over 2. So then all I had to do was the operation in the numerator, 8x minus 11x over 6. I got negative 3x over 6, and I reduced that in the next line as negative 1/2, negative x over 2. So when I looked at this 22, 2, and 9, I recognized that I needed a least common denominator of 180, and I recognized that by looking at the prime factorization. If I look at 20, that's 4 times 5, but I can write 4 as 2 to the 2 squared times 5. Then I had a 2. Well, I already had 2 covered by 2 squared. Then I had 2 here, and I had it covered. And with the 9, I had to include a 3 squared, and 2 squared times 3 squared times 5 is 180. So that's how I determined my least common denominator. Then I just multiplied by the number 1 in each term and did it in such a way that I would get 180 as a denominator. I multiplied both sides of this equation by positive 180, and that cleared all the denominators. Then I was just careful when I was multiplying. I used my calculator. Negative 21x times 9, I got negative 189x. 3 times 90, 270. 55 times 20, 1,100. And then collected the x's on the left-hand side and the constants on the right-hand side. And when I divided both sides by negative 99, I had to change the direction of the inequality. And then I wrote my final answer using interval notation. So I hope that helps. Let's take a look here at number 8 and see what we get. If I use the distributive property here, I get negative 56x over 25 minus 14 over 15 is greater than or equal to negative 19x over 2 times 6 is 12. I'll have minus 17 over 10. So let's see, let's take a look at the denominators. 25, I've got 5 squared. 15, I've got 3 times 5, so I'm going to need a factor of 3 in there. 12, 4 times 3, so I'm going to need a 4, which is 2 squared. And I've already got the 2 times 5 covered. So 12 times 25, what is that? Is that 300? Yes. So let's get a common denominator of 300. Yeah. All right. So let's multiply this first term by the number 1, but let's write 1 as 12 over 12. And in the second term here, let's multiply it by 20 over 20. And in the right-hand side, let's take negative 19x over 12 and multiply it by 25 over 25. Put it out of room. So let's shrink this up. And I've got minus 17 over 10. But I want to multiply that by 30 over 30 so that I'll get 300 in the denominator. So now all of these terms hopefully have a denominator of 300. If I multiply both sides of this inequality by positive 300, all of the denominators will cancel. And let's see what we have here. The negative 56 times a positive 12, negative 672x minus 280, right, is greater than or equal to negative 19 times 25, negative 475. Oops, I forgot my x. That would have been disastrous. Minus 17 times 30, 510 maybe, yeah. 510. All right, so let's add 475 to each side. So if we have negative 672 plus 475, I'm getting negative 197x. And if I add 280 to each side, I've got negative 510 plus 280, and that's negative 230. If I divide both sides by this negative 197, the inequality will change directions. The negatives will cancel with each other, and I'll have 230 over 197. In interval notation, that's from negative infinity all the way up and including this endpoint. And hopefully, if I haven't made a mistake, that's my final answer. So my answer in number 7, the one that I forgot to turn on the video to record, and of course, I'm sitting here talking out loud. I thought I was recording, so I'm talking out loud to an empty room, and not even the recorder is recording it. But hey, no one's around to get, I can't get too embarrassed, can I? All right, so hey, I hope that helps. Ask any questions as needed. Let me know if I've made other silly mistakes so I can come in and edit this video for others. Hey, I'll talk to you later. Bye.